do something. Okay. Tambourane lojon kaya mache. Fuke yang kopto resha. Gompa chilo kap taba kyam degen chire. Tadi jela kiranso lo mambo ke kalegya lojon che. Nga de kalop che gona tengoni ta gemusho ya resha. Sham non la azara chigore ta de chimpa resha. This was the yearly gathering where there is a result, all the exams, the art school, the elementary school, monastery with the chanting, dancing exams, and finally the philosophical college, the 9 years. So I told them, you know, here you are, having studied so hard for so many years, and here is someone who never studied properly, whose Tibetan is very poor, and who spends most of his time running around away from the monastery here and there. So what I said is like, in the dance you have a clown, so here, this is what I represent. And then I told them, in the beginning, when you were very young, maybe your parents put you there, maybe you felt to come there, but you really didn't have a chance to think in depth. Now that you're a little bit grown up, you really think what you want to do with your life. And that has to do with a sense of direction and sense of motivation. I mean, the direction is going to determine the nature of your journey. To travel, you need endeavor, and to have endeavor, you need to see the benefit of where you are going. Otherwise, why should you travel? So please think carefully, and so that in 5 years, you will feel some sort of accomplishment, have no regret. In 10 years, the same thing, and when you die, the same thing. Yeah. Nice. It's more easy. It's more easy. This is the mantra of the Buddha of Compassion that is carved on the rocks. You have publicity, advertisement for Coca-Cola. In Tibet, you have advertisement for compassion. So instead of saying something, say, oh, I'm going to buy something, you think, oh, I'm going to develop compassion. So, you know, everything is sort of makes more sense in a way than this world of just, you know, always trying to get more, to consume more, to buy more. Here we're trying to somehow, even of course nobody is perfect. There are still terrible people around there in eastern Tibet. They always like to fight with knives and all that. So this is not perfect, but at least it's always somewhere that would be the way to go. You know, increase your human quality rather than just being obsessed with gross national product. In 1966, I saw some documentaries made by our friend Arnaud Desjardins on all the great Tibetan teachers who had fled the Chinese invasion of Tibet. And then it was like a kind of revelation, or a very powerful inspiration. And I feel quite inspired to the idea of meeting a spiritual teacher. I was 20 and I decided to find myself a charter flight, and I reached Delhi, and I hardly spoke any English, and so I made up my way, taking trains to Darjeeling, and then I met my teacher, Kangyo Rinpoche, and spent 3 weeks to 1 month just sitting in a small room at his feet, try to meditate, not knowing very much what to do, but his presence was so powerful and so inspiring and so soothing and peaceful and strong at the same time that, you know, that's all. It's much more than I needed. I wanted to be a doctor. One thing my father sort of influenced me. So finally I went back to France. I did biology. I did some research in Pasteur Institute with a very good lab. I was lucky to be taken with François Jacob, who with Jacques Monod and André Lvov has just received the Nobel Prize for helping to decipher the genetic code and things like that. For me, what I did afterwards was even more interesting. To live with my teacher, and then after my teacher, Kanjuro Rinpoche, passed away, then Dilko Khyentse Rinpoche came and gave teachings to all the disciples of Kanjuro Rinpoche and took them in his hands. When I finished my PhD, I kind of smoothly told everyone that over the years it had become very clear that that's where I wanted to live, near my teacher. Yes, that was the right time and the right thing to do.
Cause and effects. I have to come. It was terrible. Le père de mes enfants était extrêmement intelligent et j'ai toujours pensé que j'étais invalide du cerveau parce que très enfant, je me disais pourquoi on a cette intelligence uniquement pour constater qu'on manque d'intelligence. Donc on n'est pas venu par la même enfance. Donc, quand on s'est rencontrés, j'avais besoin de cette intelligence-là pour comprendre qu'il n'y avait rien à comprendre.
Mon père était donc Jean-François Revel. Il nous a eu avec ma mère Yann Toumelin très jeunes. Ils avaient 20 ans quand ils se sont rencontrés. Et c'était donc un écrivain, philosophe, journaliste, surtout un philosophe. Pour moi, ça a été quelqu'un d'assez inaccessible et en même temps beaucoup de tendresse. Parce que je le voyais, à une époque, je le voyais plus souvent à la télévision que dans ma vie de tous les ordinaire. Mais ça a toujours été un pilier. Ça a toujours été quelqu'un de solide. Alors ma mère, donc Yann Toumelin, est une grande peintre. Moi j'ai vécu entourée de peintures toute mon enfance. Ça a nourri mon imaginaire de façon incroyable. Parce qu'à l'époque, quand j'étais enfant, elle était peinte surréaliste. Alors s'il y avait des animaux particuliers, c'était un monde fantastique que je ne comprenais pas, mais j'acceptais de ne pas comprendre ce qui se passait dans ces tableaux.
Et comme bébé, ils étaient tellement différents. Matthieu avait l'air de reconnaître les choses. Elle était étonnée partout, ahurie partout. Donc elle a eu beaucoup de souffrance. La vie lui a tapé dessus. Hein.
J'ai écrit un livre qui s'appelle Parkinson Blues, qui parle de comment je fais pour vivre avec une maladie qui est la maladie de Parkinson, que j'ai depuis 15 ans maintenant. Et je parle comment j'utilise, parce que ma maladie c'est une maladie évolutive, dégénérative, et qui ne se guérit pas, et je raconte comment je fais pour que ça ne se passe pas comme ça. C'est-à-dire que j'utilise l'énergie de la maladie pour lutter. La maladie, c'est une énergie comme une autre, et j'utilise l'énergie de cette maladie pour lutter contre la maladie.
Yes, it was clear in her case that inner strength, the way your mind is stronger than the outer condition, because the outer condition was so difficult for her. She could have been completely broken. So because she could master various elements of the conditions of inner strength and inner peace, and so that overrides her physical difficulties.
Je n'appartiens pas plus à celle des Parkinsoniens et je ne vis pas comme eux. La médecine ne s'intéresse pas à cette différence. C'est l'esprit, la force d'âme et la liberté intérieure qui fait toute la différence. Ici, tu sais, on ne rate jamais rien, dit Ève à l'un de ses enfants en difficulté dont elle s'est occupée toute sa vie, puisqu'il existe un lieu où rien n'est jamais raté. Ce lieu, c'est notre véritable nature, la pépite d'or qui est en chacun de nous, même si nous avons oublié sa présence, comme le mendiant qui, à la fois pauvre et riche, ignore le trésor enfoui sous sa cabane.
Somehow, I think my mother getting more and more towards a spiritual life, and my father more towards this intellectual sort of writing and debating and being a polemical writer. Somehow, their world was becoming slightly distant, so then they separated.
Mais c'est vrai que moi, j'étais d'une génération où on ne divorçait pas, puis j'ai pas été jamais active, bon, j'étais comme ça, c'était comme ça. Et mais Jean-François, il a beaucoup manqué, particulièrement à sa fille. Matthieu a trouvé d'autres pères avec des maîtres, des pères parfaits.
Mais Matthieu n'est pas un personnage, il n'a jamais voulu être sur un piédestal, c'est pas quelqu'un qui est loin. Il n'a pas changé, si vous voulez. Parce qu'il est fameux, il n'aime pas seulement être fameux, hein, c'est pas du tout. C'est pour ça que Matthieu, pour moi, c'est un camarade, il n'a pas changé du tout. Déjà tout petit, à 16 ans ou 17 ans, il y avait Kalu Rinpoché qui venait en France. Kalu Rinpoché, un grand maître Kagyupa. Et Rinpoché avait dit, il venait d'arriver à Paris, on ne le connaissait pas encore, mais Matthieu avait dit, on va mettre un trône dans le salon, enfin il n'avait pas un grand appartement, un petit appartement. On va mettre un grand salon et on dit que quand on met un trône, il ne connaissait pas encore le Dharma beaucoup, hein. On dit quand on met un trône, il y a toujours quelqu'un qui vient s'asseoir dessus. Et effectivement, Kalu Rinpoché était l'invité après. Et il est venu tout seul, pratiquement, dans ce salon. Donc il avait déjà des inclinations pour le Dharma et il a compris tout de suite le sens profond, quoi. Donc ça coïncidait avec ce moment où tout était possible et tout était vivant, tout était fertile. Alors il y avait deux côtés. En plus, avec le bouddhisme, on avait cette inspiration de découvrir quelque chose de totalement nouveau, totalement inconnu, mais avec un grand espoir. Et j'ai rencontré Kanjo Rinpoché, j'ai eu l'impression ou la certitude même d'arriver dans ma famille.
Matthieu était tout le temps avec Diego Khyentse Rinpoché. Donc chaque fois qu'on voyait Diego Khyentse Rinpoché, on voyait Matthieu. Et on voyait qu'il était complètement comme dans une bulle de bonheur. Avec Diego Khyentse Rinpoché, Matthieu était toujours là, toujours omniprésent et toujours au service, toujours souriant.
So this is the translation of the life of Shapka, and he was a wonderful wandering yogi across the 18th and 19th century. He was born in Amdo and traveled all over the place. He did retreats in the island in the middle of Lake Kokonor. Then he went all the way western Tibet, 3,000 kilometers on foot, on Mount Kailash, where he spent many years in retreat in a cave. It was almost underground. Then he traveled to Nepal, and though he was a wandering yogi, but people had so much devotion and respect for him that they offered a lot of gold. So when he came here, he offered everything to gild the top of Bodhnath Stupa. All the gold on top is offered by Shapka in the 1820 or something. And so there was a great joy to translate this very, very inspiring life story. A lot of songs and teachings, and he teaches to animals, to wild hares, to birds, and it's a great story. And so since I not have only that to do, it took me about 10 years, and I did a lot of research also with some friends who were helping to research the places, the books he mentioned, the texts he mentioned, the teachers he meets. So there's about 1,000 footnotes. So it was a great work. But you know, this kind of work, it's not very, it doesn't go much anywhere. They printed 1,000 copies in America. Now we reprinted that in India. So when I submitted to a French publisher, they say they didn't even look at the book the first day, they just said no. So many publishers refused simply on the volume. And I heard on that day in the news that there was someone who was given $500,000 advance for his memories as being a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. So I felt very strange. I thought, here is one of the classics, most inspiring of the whole Tibetan literature. And people don't want even to look at it, they just say, oh, it's too heavy. Okay. Des peu tout en bas là. Ah, so. Ah, peu tambo. Tambo. Là, so什么些？啊，对，这个。把现在的进度一起，都干嘛就那些教育都一样的嘛，不老。我认不行，有那的都不干嘛的。反正。Khyentse Rinpoche passed away in 1991, and I decided to fulfill some of Khyentse Rinpoche's wishes and vision, like publishing first his collected writings. So we put together his 25 volumes of his writings, on the computer. I first put them together, print them. And he had so many other wishes and for the Dharma, for the beings. So now it's the same thing. I'm just trying with the publications of the books and whatever I do, maybe not very skillfully, but I hope that my main goal is still to fulfill Khyentse Rinpoche's vision.
He's good at many things, Matthieu. As you know that he's a good photographer. And also maybe he's also making the books in the computer. We have some special settings so that it will become in traditional style. So we always have to wait for Matthieu to do that because I think he's the only one who knows how to set that thing. Also he knows about all these precious pills and all the relics we have in the Khyentse Rinpoche's box. He remembers because he's always been dealing with these things when Khyentse Rinpoche is alive. Because I was quite young when Rinpoche was alive. Rinpoche died when I was 25 years old. So many things that I couldn't remember are kind of oral teachings or stories, even like many of the Tibetan masters and great masters, sort of history that he knows.
Ajahn Rinpoche, he's the Dharma heir and the grandson of Khyentse Rinpoche. And since he's 5 years old, he used to sleep in Khyentse Rinpoche's court. And so I met him first when he was 8 years old. I think he's 41 now. Then, as he grew up, and especially after Khyentse Rinpoche passed away, obviously he had to shoulder the whole legacy of Khyentse Rinpoche. Then I became very, very close.
He's like my brother, like, you know. I think with Khyentse Rinpoche we're always together there. And sometimes we go for teaching tours and Matthieu translate for me. But just because I'm kind of Rinpoche, I have to say he translate, but actually we're the same. So he knows what I'm saying and I know how he's going to translate. But because of different position, I'm supposed to be speaking and he's translating. But so we work together very well. And as a very good friend, we always, everything when we travel together, we're a very good friend. Yeah.
He's kind enough to consider me as a friend, although I'm also feeling like a disciple. But so we are, I think, very, very strong, cohesive relation, and I try to serve his purpose and vision, and he himself feels that there's nothing else to do but fulfilling Khyentse Rinpoche's vision and taking care of the young Khyentse Rinpoche. So our goals are completely one. So here we are crossing a 5,000 meter high mountain pass that leads from Sechen to Derge. It's I think one of the highest pass you can drive. You know, you're at 200 meters above the Mont Blanc.
Hi everybody.
So Rinpoche has brought a satellite phone, but anywhere we tried it in Tibet, it says invalid position. And we spend more than $1 million a year that we bring in Tibet, Nepal, India. But so we have very small numbers of people working there, but all committed and all volunteers. That's why in our projects we are able to keep 2% overhead expense. So it's very little for an NGO, and everyone works with heart and, you know, on a volunteer basis. We built 16 clinics in eastern Tibet, and it's quite a remote area, as you can see. There's only a dirt road to reach there, and there was no doctor around before. To get to any medical center, you had to drive for 5 hours. Provided you find a car, which obviously you can see the road. It's not a place you can hitchhike anytime. Most of our schools, we have about more than 1,000 children, which school in which we built. You will see it's quite not the way we study in our schools. The whole idea is that when the teacher comes, the more you shout, the better you are as a student. And instead of keeping quiet, they shout double. This lady, she had a husband that died, and she had a 13-year-old sister and this elderly mother, and she had bone TB. She was left for dead. She could not get up anymore. And so we put her on TB medicine, and I can show you a photograph a year later where she's beaming. It's a complete difference. And just that one instance, for me, justifies all what we do. I was there when the first letter of recognition came from Tulsi Rinpoche. Rinpoche opened the seal letter, and there was a poem with some names in Sanskrit for the father and the mother's name. They were not put in Tibetan, but in Sanskrit, written in Tibetan. So we had to look in the Sanskrit dictionary to see what those words meant in Tibetan. So we found those words, and then we tried to figure out who around would be named like that, and we have a son born in the nest, in the year of the one who stays in the nest, as the bird, and in the northeast direction from the monastery. So finally we did found Nyingma Rinpoche's parents' name fitted, and his year of birth and the place fitted. The Dalai Lama spent a week in retreat and also confirmed that it was the right recognition.
Digo Khyentse Rinpoche was my past life. He was a great teacher. The spiritual teacher is like example of I, because I am the recognition of Digo Khyentse. It's like this. We are all born here to teach the sentient beings and to show the path of enlightenment, and to release all the suffering, that the sentient have and sentient beings have. Yeah, when they suffer, some of them don't know where the suffering comes from. They just think it's normal, but it's not that. The suffering has where it comes from. Is coming from our mind. We call it the three poisons. There's a picture of a pig and a snake and a bird, and it presents the pig presents of ignorance, and the snake presents of anger, and the bird presents of desire. From these three, our suffering comes.
So when he was very young, it was powerfully moving. The whole day I was in a complete state of exaltation. I feel such incredible love, for him. When he was so small, 3.5 years old, I feel like I never had children, but I could imagine what's unconditional love for a child or for someone. I would be really anything, give my life.
I will say he is my most, like some people have like people that to talk with, like some student need to talk with the teacher about the personal stuff, and how they have to like grow up. Sometimes because when mostly all the kids are quite naughty in the young age, how to change that, they have to talk to a teacher, then he gives some advice and don't do that, He's like that for me. I will tell someone like that. He's like my right hand, where I talk my personal stuff and how to deal with things, I say that.
Sacred dance is there some kind of outer projection in movements and musics and symbols of the inner meditation that the monks are doing during the ceremony that goes sometimes for day and night for 9 days and night without interruption. So it's like a performance of what the inner meditation is about. And also it's a way of sharing with the public. It says liberate by sight, in the same way that mind is liberated by meditation. I did 7 months of retreat in the mountains in Nepal, solitary retreat, which is a kind of fun for the photographer, because it's something that no photographer, including myself, can do, is to sit for 1 year to wait for the light. So I was not waiting for anything, because I was simply sitting in my hermitage, but I had this incredible landscape, 400 kilometers of the Himalayas and above a forest with the birds and some peasants and the hills. And so every week, over a year, there will be a magic moment, magic light, something, a bird coming. So I was not there to photograph, but when it was there, I just take a photo, then put back the camera in the cupboard, forget about it the rest of the time. But in the end, it sort of made an album, which is the eye of wonder in front of the beauty of the most serene and peaceful and extremely inspiring sort of landscape and surrounding that surrounds the life of a hermit. It somehow reflects something of the nature of meditation. It feels incredibly wonderful to sit alone in the hermitage and look at the mountains, look at the sky, and just do. When you wake up at 4 in the morning, or the whole day is going just to be meditation and practice, and nothing is going to come as a disturbance. And not only that, there is not only one day, there is a week, there is a month, perhaps there is a year, and to see that ahead is like coming to a golden island. You've been given a field to cultivate or something incredible. So it's like you are going to fill your hands with this treasure, and then you feel suddenly, this is life.
Do you think it is better to go into the distress mode first and then in the compassion, or you want to go straight in the compassion?
If you need the compassion, I can go straight, yes.
But we need...
Okay, we start in several seconds with the first anatomical scan.
Oder die Insel macht was Umgekehrtes. Hoch. Oder hat da kommt er. Da kommt ziehen. Komm hoch. Ja, komm.
Na, jetzt geht's ja noch richtig hoch.
So what we do is, this is for example a brain, a structural brain for Matthieu, and this is reflecting the oxygen in the blood while he is doing things. So we are interested in emotion areas. So for example, what you see here, this is the insula. The insula is extremely activated while he is in his favorite state of compassion. This is this kind of unconditional love towards every being without any imagery, the purest state of compassion. And you see here you have a very strong insular activity here, which is an area which records positive and negative emotion. As a researcher, he is someone who can help us a lot to understand the nature of compassion better and to also get the idea into Western society that to cultivate compassion is possible and that you can actually prove it and do it and encourage people to do it. So I think, given that's also the goal of my life or of you know, parts of my research, is to bring more compassion into the Western world or my world. I think he has the same goal. He does it on his way, and so we work together, I think, on the same goal. Okay, very well done. We get you out now. The first looks at the data look like this left prefrontal, which you know you also know from the EEG work, is only really there in the unconditional compassion and not so much in loving kindness.
It's the most refined, I could say, I don't know, higher state, both in the brain and in meditation.
And do you think that for going into the state you have to block out much more from the outside? Not at all.
You don't block out.
No.
Actually, you relate to the ultimate nature of mind, pure awareness. If science does find, which it seems to be happening now, that meditation induces deep changes in the brain, in the way it functions. So that means that meditation are not just like, you know, changing temporarily your moods, but in the long term, they change really what you are. And therefore, this could be used by anyone who wants to take the trouble to undergo that process of transformation. Or maybe with a non-Buddhist label to bring some of this wisdom and techniques in education. You know, teach the children how to be more attentive, to be more balanced, to be more compassionate in a secular way, but using the depth of those methods. And that's a greatest service we could give to society, to work toward a more compassionate society. This was a wish of Kensir Moshe to have a clinic near the monastery. So 7 years ago, we built that clinic. And slowly it grew. First it was so nice that poor people thought, oh, that's not for us. So we had to advertise, yes, here, come. And now, of course, we have 50,000 medical services per year. And it's a wonderful atmosphere of compassion.
Oui, bien sûr, on peut parler d'elle.
Sur l'histoire, quand même.
Oui, bien sûr.
Elle refait une crise.
Oui.
On ne voit pas trop, là.
Ah ouais. C'est Kesha?
C'est un cas dramatique. C'est une femme qui a été enterrée vivante alors qu'elle était, elle avait 8 mois. Alors she was buried alive. She was 8 months pregnant, and there was some feud in the village, and she was buried alive to be killed. And when she was about to cover the head of the village came, took her out, and said, "Run right away to Kathmandu. After that, I cannot guarantee your life." So we have been here for quite some time because she's obviously so traumatized. So she has some kind of mental disturbances, but we really try to help her a lot. But it's absolutely an unbelievable case.
En fait, c'est leur maison qui a brûlé.
Ah.
Et lui, il avait peur, il s'est caché dans l'armoire.
Ah bon.
Donc, il a mis les mains devant le visage, donc il a protégé son visage.
Mais dans une école? You like to go to school? Yes? Nepali school? English school? No? Nepali school. I think we'll try to take you to a nice school, and you, if you like, then we'll take you to... It's all made with bamboos. And there are 1,500 children. So you like to go to see, if you like the school? Yes? So you can see, I mean, this sort of easier to meditate there than in the subway. And this is the Marlborough County of my photographs. It's Mount Kailash. And then this is the hottest day of the year in Amnie Machen, August 1st. I was with some Tibetan friends with a big tent, and they said, "We are going to sleep outside." I said, "Why?" He says, "Summertime."
Ik heb Matthieu voor het eerst ontmoet in 77, 78. Dat was in Derdun. Ik was een tijdje de vertaalster voor Dinkeltjense. Als ik dan aan het vertalen was, dan zei hij af en toe... "Oh, je hebt dat en dat nog vergeten, je bent dat en dat nog vergeten." En toen dacht ik, nou ja, whatever, weet je wel, neem jij het maar over. Ik bedoel, hij is gewoon zoveel beter als ik.
In 1 month here, I'm going to, I think, 7 countries, doing almost 15 or 16 conferences and countless meetings. So there's not a single day that is sort of, this is kind of the only quiet morning I think I have in the month. And then, since I couldn't do that in the train or in the plane, that will be surprising. So I took the occasion to try to sort out those photos. And of course, those photos also, they will be put on auction, and the benefit will go to the projects, like 100% of royalties of my books and whatever I do. I don't need anything. I have 1 pair of shoes and no car, no house. So simple life. Sometimes I feel I should just do retreat. I asked His Holiness Dalai Lama. He said, "But try to share your time. 6-month retreat, 6 months engage in activity." So far, it's hard to find the 6 months for a retreat, but I'm really trying. Sound. Okay, stop. No, don't go so much. Too much. Kensir Moshe used to say, if you think that you are going to finally complete some of those works, forget it. The only way to complete them is to drop them. Because there's no other way. Till your last breath, there'll be something to do. Tsang. So Tsang means they are recognizing not the dwelling place. Tsang means the flows. Tsang, like to bring out the
flaws.
Flow. This is the kind of hidden flows. So
Ja, Matthieu is gewoon zo ongelooflijk toegewijd aan zijn meesters. Hij wil gewoon het werk van zijn meester voortzetten. En dus alle plannen en dingen die Dingo-Chance had gepland. En al financieel is dus eigenlijk Matthieu degene die dat allemaal verzorgt. En daarom spendeert hij eigenlijk bijna zijn hele leven met het rondreizen over de wereld voor fundraising. Om al die dingen dus te sponsoren.
Why at all should we train our mind? Some people argue that the way the mind works and the brain works is that there's absolutely no need to do any training further other than the experience that we acquire since we are born. It is quite clear that no matter how important the outer conditions are, it is the mind that is the final witness. It is the mind that translates into well-being or misery those outer conditions. So, if we were to change even to a small extent the way we experience the world, then somehow our world, and that's the one we experience, there's no other one than the one we experience, can change to a considerable extent. Of course we need training. More there than anywhere else. It's sort of easy to train your fingers. It's a little bit more difficult to train your mind. So actually you need to spend much more energy because it's much more subtle and the mind is much more wild than your fingers. The fingers are just waiting to be trained. They are not wild in themselves. Mind is completely wild on its own. Fingers don't kill people just because they are wild. But the mind does that. So the mind should be trained first.
Tómanos una foto acá con Eduardo.
C'est Maryland. C'est pas mal curieux.
Gens dans le monde, surtout en Occident. Pour quelle raison?
Most important factor is, I think, peace of mind. I really feel. Peace of mind, I think, very, very positive factor for immune system. Inner sort of these strength, something very fresh. So some germs or something happen, I think immediately, repair. I think that's mine. And then I think important is sleep, sufficient sleep. Although I wake up 3:30 in morning, so perhaps I think most of you, I think, very good dreaming. I always see get up. So I think sometimes worthwhile to sacrifice your night entertainment. Night entertainment, and better to go sleep earlier. That's better.
In 1989, just before His Holiness received the Nobel Peace Prize, he was in Paris, and then he came to Dordogne, the first big teaching he gave in France to 6,000 to 10,000 people some days. And again, they were planned to have his regular translator from Tibetan to English, then English to French. But the day before, I came to visit the huge tent, and then I was there. They said, who's translating tomorrow? And he said, well, the English, but he doesn't speak French. He said, you translate. So all of a sudden, I had first experience with 10,000 people not being prepared at all. See, sometimes he can do very simple things. Sometimes he has no hesitation in going the deepest. Somehow he feels that he feels to explain some points, and it can be very, very complex. Well, the teaching is about two texts of Nagarjuna, who speaks about the mind of enlightenment, and he's only explained the context of those texts. You have to analyze and understand the selflessness of all phenomena, including personal self. Then you come to the understanding of emptiness of true existence in all phenomena whatsoever. So this is the religion of wisdom. This is the direct antidote. He said just to meditate on patience or love against anger will reduce anger temporarily, but doesn't go at the root of it. Likewise, strong obsessive attachment, you may meditate on the unpleasant aspect of the object of attachment. Again, this is a temporary measure to reduce desire, but not the root of it, which is ego clinging, is still there. So now when you have realized emptiness, you see that the obscurations, the negative emotions, the clinging to the self, it can be removed because its nature is empty, and you need to understand that. So now if you know the ultimate nature of things, when you see being suffering, you see at the same time that they could be free from suffering. Definitely. So then the compassion is called the great compassion, Mahakaruna, because it comes within the wisdom, so it's much stronger than beginning simply to meditate on suffering and then developing compassion and then gradually developing wisdom. So the text of Nagarjuna is that way. It begins explaining the absolute truth, then from that it speaks about how to develop further compassion. So we are going to visit, I call it the bamboo school, but it has another name. But anyway, there's a wonderful guy who is a self-made sort of man who decided he wants to help the kids here. So he has already built 4 such schools, all made with bamboo. In 3 months he can finish. And he is a big vision. There's 75 districts in Nepal. He wants to build 75 schools. And so we really thought it's nice to support at least one school.
It's like a Disneyland.
Yeah. Yes. Hey. Uttam. Wow, look at that. He was very badly burned, his house burned.
and his parents live very, very far. So maybe we thought we put him here. But he will have to stay full boarding. So can you ask him if he likes to stay?
Yeah, I like.
Ask him.
Come out to go.
Huh? So you like this school? You like? All made with bamboos. There's so many kids. You know, this new, we gave them just $3,000 1 month ago. Now look what they built. Those two magnificent buildings.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Yes, so my whole childhood and then teenage was filled with I lived in those paintings. So it's like my world to be with their paintings. With me? No. I would have never thought. Sitting on a kind of, I don't know. My father became sick, and so I got news that maybe his life won't last very long. So, I taught myself and also checked with my teachers, and it's I think very important and wonderful to accompany him as he was sort of dying. And the last very few days I spent day and night near him, and it's like trying to repay a little bit the debt of gratitude I have for him as giving me this life. Well, I didn't see my father so often. I mean, because I'm mostly 35 years now in the Himalayas, but in the beginning, of course, he was quite sad that I left a scientific career. Then he came to see me and he found that I have a life that is fulfilling for me. So at least he felt good that I'm not just lost somewhere, smoking something here and there and being completely a mess in my life. But I was very much appreciating and enjoying what I was doing. And then we did this dialogue together, which helped us to go deeper into the real reason why I adopted this way of life as an art of living, as a compassionate approach to the world. And I think intellectually he appreciated very much this aspect of the Buddhist path, although he didn't have any belief at all in more transcendent aspects of the Buddhist path, but at least as a way, how should I live my life? He thought that Buddhism in our world, where those things are very much missing, as Western Buddhist philosophy now is just doing from very abstract construct and not really dealing with a way of life like the ancient Greek would do. So he thought that's a very wonderful contribution. So we came quite close with that. And then at his funeral, the perpetual secretary of l'Académie Française, she told me that he had told her, which I never knew, that this dialogue had brought something quite important for some kind of reflection or meaning of life. So I was sort of surprised, happily surprised. I didn't think it really mattered that much for him. So it was nice to hear that after just he passed away. So Kensei Moshe used to sleep here at night, and he would wake up very early, I don't know, sometime 4 o'clock like that, 3:30, and do his prayer silently till around 8. And then when he would just wake up, I would sleep here. Then when he would just wake up, I would get up myself and then take his bedding, fold it, put it in this almori, and then just do, his meditation and sadhanas and prayers till around 8:30, depending. And he would not speak. So then after that, he would dress, go to the bathroom and wash, and then go to the main big room where usually 30-40 people would be waiting to see him, and then the day will start like that. And here is a photo of his spouse, Kandro. And also in this box, there is Kensei Moshe's skull, which that didn't burn during the cremation. So his most precious relic, all top of his head, is in that box. And then here, there's people, almori is really full of clothes, ties and coats and shoes. But here, it's a bit different. It's only books. And those were, although we have a vast library, but these were the personal books of Kensei Moshe. I mean, those he used all the time. The other side is same. It's only books. Once he wrote a poem. He was doing retreat and he was silent. And then we were in Bhutan near the border of India, and he said, because I got a postcard from my mother of somebody in France with a nice, landscape and castle. So he was not speaking, but he wrote, "Looking at the beautiful landscape of France and remembering it, now here you are, eating potatoes and being the sort of servant of other people. What a terrible karma," something like that. Oh, no, but it didn't say what a terrible karma it is. This is the work of karma. So, it was not a terrible karma, it was the most extraordinary fortune of my life, yes. So, in that sense, I could have done much better many things. Practice more, I don't know, do more, having more endeavor. But I have no regret for the course of my life, because even I'm still messy. But that, having met those great teachers, that definitely happened. So in that sense, the overall fortune and meaning of my life is no regret. No, I have regret maybe for not having practiced enough. That's what to do, my laziness.